Welcome to Conversational Currency. This is the segment that we call Timeline Talk. Now, Conversational Currency is the fastest growing platform which focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era told through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. Now, I'm Shateka Eleazer, but enough about me. Today, we have a special gathering, an assembly, if you will, of the brightest minds in generational wealth. And what we're going to discuss today is generational wealth for businesses and brands. We're going to demystify this term that we've heard so many time and time again and bring it home in plain English with examples and case studies and vitamins that you can take in order to strengthen your path to build wealth for yourself, for your community as a whole. Now, we have a Generational Wealth Summit that is coming up, virtual event. And first, before we get into the discussion with our panelists, I would like to start with an introduction for combat veteran, serial entrepreneur, and investor, Miss Shateka Husser. Now, please, Shateka, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Shazid, and I'm excited about this. If you don't know who I am, like he's already mentioned, I am a serial entrepreneur, and I thrive in helping people build wealth, not only wealth, but that next level of wealth, the generational wealth, right? And so the goal of today is to really be able to talk about all the different aspects of this conference or the summit that we have coming up. But about me, my background is, of course, military. As he mentioned, I was an Army officer. I transitioned into the corporate sector and primarily in logistics and retail operations. So I am the queen of delegating in operations. And so I've been able to manage multi-million-dollar operations, $92 million operation in South Carolina, as well as quite a few million-dollar operation here with an online retail. I don't want to mention those, but you can look me up on LinkedIn, Shateka Husser, and I can certainly tell you more about all of the different operations that I've done. But for the purpose of now, I am helping people build wealth, but with that money that they have laying in the bank. So I always ask people, like, what has your money done for you in the last 2 to 5 years sitting in the bank? And most people will say nothing. And so what I've done is I found people that's going to help you, to be able to build wealth as well as generational wealth with those finances. And a lot of people make money, but they don't know how to properly invest that money. And I know certainly for me, that was a pain point, right? And so while I'll say I did okay, I could have done a whole lot better had I known some of the theories and concepts that I've been able to learn over the past few years. And so my goal is just to help empower our communities around how they can build wealth. There's so many different ways that you can do it. And while I was able to do it through real estate investing, and primarily the person I have to give thanks to is right here with us, Shakeima Clark. So she was able to sell me my very first rental property, and I'm excited to have her on board as one of our speakers as well. And so yeah, that's kind of who I am in a nutshell. All about building wealth.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now we're going to transition over to Shakeima. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm Shakeima Chatman in the beautiful city of Charleston. As you can see in my background, I too had an interesting sort of path to where I am now. Shateka and I attended college together, where I was an elementary education major, went into teaching, discovered very quickly that I loved educating, but not necessarily small children. And so I made some transitions that led me to being in the corporate world, which was a great opportunity, but I felt that my wealth was limited because it was dictated by someone else. And so I took a huge leap of faith into the world of entrepreneurship, which allowed me to then have a little more control over my own opportunities to generate wealth being an entrepreneur. But when I started in real estate, one thing that I found frustrating, and I will say, just culturally, amongst the African American community, there was a lack of financial literacy training. And so I definitely have focused a lot on educating our community about not only the emotional benefits of owning property, but also the financial gains that they can have from them.
Excellent. This is going to be an explosive discussion. Thank you for that, Shakeima. Now, we transition over to Mr. Donald Butler. Please introduce yourself and tell us more about who you are and who you serve and why you serve.
Sure. Thank you, Shadi, for that. I am the CEO of Butler Square Consulting, which is a full-service accounting firm. So when people come to us, whether it's a small business or an individual that own their business, or maybe they are an employee, we help them with filing their taxes, maintaining their books, and also with other business consulting needs that they have. And so I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I spent 20 years of my career as an auditor for various CPA firms, including Deloitte. So that's one of the big four that's out there. And also I managed to audit, for example, DOD, Securities and Exchange Commission, but also big companies like AT&T. So I led many of those audits and then also transitioned that experience over to my professional or my personal business, which allowed me to help serve our clients better. And so using that experience, to me, like, you know, like Shateka said and Shakeima also mentioned, education is so important. Financial literacy is so important. Many times we see business owners, they have a business, but they don't understand maintaining accurate records is important. And so that's one of the things that we stress is making sure that you cover your bases when it comes down to deductions for the IRS and also the state level. So that way they can keep those deductions and not worry about being audited. So that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell. And I'll be glad to expound on that as we get further into this discussion.
Excellent. Great point about, let's say, the compliance piece of it and having your paperwork in order. Now, last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Edwin Avent. Please introduce yourself. I've heard this introduction many, many times, but the next time is always the best time. Please, sir, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about that. My name is Edwin Avent, as Shadi just introduced me. I am one of the founders of Black Professional Men, your host for the event that's coming up this week. Many years ago, we founded Black Professional Men with the mission of empowering the community and particularly trying to ensure the future of the African-American male. And it was a variety of different ways that we wanted to do that through economics was definitely one, wealth building, as well as professional development and development of young men. Me personally, I've been an entrepreneur for many years. I've been in the Baltimore area now for about 30 years and really involved in owning businesses and giving back to the community. Most recently, I owned Heart and Soul magazine. So it was a national magazine. And I built a national television network as well called the Soul of the South, actually a regional television network. But more recently today, I spend my time really trying to help our community build themselves up financially. I am the president of American Dream Credit Advisors, where we advise people on how to get their credit in order so that they can stop paying so much for everything and they can become homeowners and buy real estate and be able to begin building their wealth. I'm also a licensed life and health insurance advisor. So I'm able to help people look at their future, their retirement, protecting their assets, annuities, and things like that to really, you know, try to position people. So between helping them with their credit, and I'm a licensed realtor. So I help people buy real estate. I help people invest in insurance and things like that. And so my real passion is to empower our community and make us healthy, wealthy, and wise. And so I'm really excited to be able to join this outstanding panel of people who are bringing the Generational Wealth Seminar to us this weekend. And I'm going to speak on the issue of how do we pivot during this time and empower ourselves via our credit, and see if we can't help people build wealth using their credit.
Okay, we have a all-star lineup assembled for this discussion, which will lead to this weekend's Generational Wealth Summit. So once you gain the insight from this panel, keep in mind that there is more to come this weekend. This is just a sample size. This is just the appetizer. Now, let's get into this discussion. Now, we're going to break this up, this question by ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to start with Shateka, then we're going to Shakeima, then we're going to go to Donald, and with Avent. So the question is, what is one strategy that, and I want you to answer for the ladies, answer for the ladies, gentlemen, answer for the gentlemen, that ladies or gentlemen can, one practical tip to empower themselves financially, because in some cases there's different stereotypes of, let's say ladies aren't good with money, or men are bad communicators and don't communicate internally or spend their money wastefully. So I want this to be practical as we start things off, and then we're going to go deeper into the discussion. So ladies, can you give one practical tip for the ladies to empower themselves financially? Gentlemen, give one tip for the gentlemen as we go into this. Starting
Absolutely.
with Shateka.
Sure, yeah, I would say learn how to save. Really simple, but most people don't know how to do it. Learn how to save more money for what you already have.
I'm trying to say this in a way that's not too off-putting, but it's just the honest truth. Something my mother always taught me. Remember, I'm from the South, and I'll tell you what she said, and then I'll tell you what it means. She said, always be in a position to buy your own pair of drawers. And so basically what she meant by that was making sure that you gain a sense of financial independence. And so my practical tip for women would be to be in control of your finances. Even if the agreement in your household is maybe the spouse is the head, but make sure you know what's going on, because on the flip side of that, not only do I encounter women who may end up in bad situations where they have to leave a relationship and they don't understand finances, or a spouse may die and they don't understand finances. So just being aware of, you always in control of your financial destiny.
Well, I would say to budget. Budget is very key. It's the compass to building financial wealth and stability. Most people don't have a budget, meaning that you need to know what's coming in and what's going out. And when you have that fundamental down in terms of that conversation, whether you're in a relationship with a spouse or whether you're single, you need to know what's coming in and going out. So that's one of the main things that I teach when I do financial literacy.
Fantastic. And I think everybody before me, made some great points. Savings, making sure that you are taking care of yourself, making sure you have some money set aside for a rainy day, and really budgeting are so super important. And so all of those things, I think, lead to people being put into a great financial position. But like I said, the thing that I'm going to focus on is be in control of your credit. One of the things that people don't understand is if they let their credit score get out of control, they're always either not going to be able to buy the things that they want to buy, like maybe a home, or B, they're going to be paying too much for everything that they do buy. So, it used to be if your credit score wasn't good, you might not even be able to get financing for your car. So you would have to get a co-signer. But nowadays, people will loan you money to buy a car with a bad credit score, except you're going to be paying 21% interest on it, as opposed to 3% or 0%. And that makes a huge difference. If you have a 3% interest rate on your car payment, you may be paying $450. But on that same car, if you're paying 21%, you're paying $669. And so that's like a $228 swing. every single month, imagine that times 4. That's $2,600, $2,700. If you held on to that and budgeted your money right, you could be saving that money and maybe investing that money and making interest on it as opposed to giving it away. So protecting your credit score, like I used to tell students in school, there's 2 things they want to protect more than anything: their GPA and their GPA and their credit score, because both of those things will have long-term impacts in their lives. Keep a high GPA, they should be able to get a nice job. Keep a good credit score, they should be able to get low interest rates. And both of those things will put them in position to build their wealth.
Excellent, excellent perspectives. Now, as we go down this path, it's one study that I've come across is that by the time a child is 3 years old, if they're raised in an affluent household, they know up to 100 more financial terms than a child who's born in a poverty-stricken household. So my question for each member of the panel is, how early should financial literacy start? And can you give a general age range and maybe some ways to introduce financial literacy? Because we have parents who are watching this who maybe they've made some mistakes and maybe they haven't received the financial education, but we all want the best for our children. We want them to do better. So what are your insights on when financial literacy should start and how to introduce that to the children, starting with Shateka and then ending with Edwin?
And I love this question because I'm already seeing where we're having children to begin trading. And I know many people don't know what trading is. They don't understand what it is, but it's simply, for example, of Forex, like foreign exchange currency, trading one country's currency for the other. We have children as young as 9 years old that's already beginning to trade. And while you have some children that are playing video games on their phones, there are children out there that literally turn their phones into an ATM. And so I don't think it's too young for a child to learn how to trade. In fact, their minds are developing, and there's an opportunity for them to be able to learn a skill that's going to help you pay your bill, right? And so we have teenagers, 10 years old making $500 in a day, 13-year-old teenagers making $10,000 cumulative. I mean, so it's never too young to teach your child. The rich and wealthy, they're already doing that, and they're requiring their children to become a millionaire by the time they reach high school. And they are graduating as a millionaire because they learn this skill at a young age. So it's never too young to teach your child a new skill or to even begin talking about financial literacy.
Yes, on to Shakeima. Yes.
I think as soon as they understand the concept of the exchange between goods and services, and basically meaning children often, they want things. I grew up in a military household. In exchange for things we wanted, my father literally paid us. We had certain tasks that we had to do, and we earned money. However, we were not allowed to spend everything we earned. And so that was also an opportunity as early as 5, 6 years old for him to help us to understand the concepts of money. Unfortunately, I think what happens in our generations and in generation after generation, as each generation becomes more wealthy, sometimes we spoil our children in a sense that we want them to have a better life than we had. However, we fail to teach them how to be responsible to maintain that wealth and to pass it on to generation to generation. So I think as early as 5 years old, also the concept of home ownerships. I go into high schools. I am teaching, high school students early on. The way I approach it, I have them choose a career, I give them a salary, and then I tell them go find a house. And they are amazed at, or often surprised, the things that they want, they can't afford based on some of those life choices. And so just constantly integrating that. But I believe early as 4 and 5, you have an opportunity to start teaching children about money. And they have to understand that with, there are ways to earn money. There are ways that money can make money for you.
And I would say, because I have 2 children that we raised, one is in the military now, in the Air Force, and our son, who's 12 years old, the minute that they start counting money, you can start teaching that principle of saving and making money. So with us, you know, the testimony is our daughter. She went to the military and she did not have to worry about paying for a car. She don't have to worry about a car note. She has a paid for car. She's responsible with her money based on how we taught her. And basically using that same principle like Shakeima just mentioned, we didn't just give her an allowance. We had her earn her money, because it's about teaching them the principles that you work, you get paid for it. And then how to invest it, which Shateka pointed out. So that's very key. So as early as they start counting money, you know, that's important to start having those conversations.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have anything to add to that. Hey, I might be in that position all day if I'm always the last one, because we have such a smart panel here. I have two sons. We started them very early. They're now 16 and 12. They both have their own TD Ameritrade accounts. They have a nice little portfolio of stock that they're investing themselves. But we got them started a little earlier than that in saving. Every time they got gifts from birthdays or Christmas, anytime it was cash, we made sure that they had to separate out some of that money. You can have half of it to spend on toys. The other half, we got to put into your bank account. So they both have bank accounts in their single digits. I think somewhere around 7, 6, 7, 8 years old, they both had their own savings accounts. Now they have their own trading accounts. But yeah, I think it's really imperative that we get them started really early. And really, you know, they have, just like they have all their chores. My boys got to take out the trash, do the recycling, wash dishes, you know, sweep floors, clean their room, wash their own clothes. And if they do all those things, they accumulate cash. And then we still say, you got to split it up. You only use half of it, and then the other half that has to go into your investing.
Excellent, excellent points. Now, one of the key principles of what you'll see when it comes to generational wealth is the use of insurance to carry on that generational legacy or to protect that which has been earned. GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy. So can you share, and we're going to start with Mr. Edwin Avent, and we're going to go backwards this time. So Edwin to Donald, Shakeima to Shateka. And can you please tell us the value of having insurance for our audience?
Well, certainly. Insurance is there to protect us in case any downsides happen. And it's never too early to have that. We have insurance, life insurance on both of our sons. Like I said, and they're both in their teenage years. Obviously, we always want to have insurance to take care of any final expenses. But even early in our lives, we want to be able to have insurance as we're accumulating assets, particularly when one gets married. You know, you want to be able to protect the home that your family is living in should anything happen to you. So typically when you're in the married, raising children, owning a home phase, you want to have more life insurance. During that time, you're typically also saving and investing and accumulating assets so that when you get to a certain age, after your children have left home, after you're older, you probably don't need as much life insurance because your home may be paid off, your children may already be educated, and so now you're moving into that latter part of your life, and you have also accumulated enough in other investments that you may have as much in investments as you have in that life insurance policy. So you got to weigh, do I keep that policy or not? But it's an excellent way to protect all your assets in case anything happens. Now there's a variety of different types of insurance that can really, you know, set you up for the future, set you up for retirement, things like annuities, things like index universal life policies where you're accumulating cash value, where down the road you might be able to actually borrow that money from yourself and not have to pay taxes to use it for expenses that you have. So there's a variety of insurances, but certainly people want their property and casualty to protect their assets, and they want life insurance to protect the assets that their family needs as they're growing.
So, and I mean, that's a powerful starter, you know, to this discussion. The state of Maryland actually has a strong push to get high school students licensed. And so when we talk about life insurance, apparently the state, the federal, are saying that this is a major, major push to get more students licensed because there's a huge need. With this COVID-19, I would say we could see the great use that insurance can play a major role. Like, for example, taking care of someone if they're terminally ill or critically ill, paying out a major part of that insurance policy that could be tax-free, and to take care of any expenses that that person may lose out on because they can't go to work. So life insurance today is much different than it was years ago. And we always encourage people to, hey, take a look at that now, and let's make sure you making the best use of your policy. Because even from a tax perspective, many times I'm seeing that people have a lot of taxable income in their retirement years. So when I'm doing people taxes that's retired, most of their retirement income is taxable, including Social Security. Whereas if you have a life insurance policy coupled with that, you can balance out your tax liability and say, you know what, let me move more on closer to zero tax liability versus being taxed at 20-30%. And the tax rate will go up. So that's one of the major concerns. So I would say definitely use life insurance as an opportunity to really store away a lot of your wealth and build wealth to make sure you cover yourself from the increase in taxes.
Yeah, so I would say certainly that, he mentioned a lot about taxes. That's definitely a great, place to start. And we need to look at that because most people know that they're paying a certain amount of taxes now, but you don't know what the taxes are going to be in the future. And so you need to make sure that you position your taxes, properly in terms of insurance, right? So most people, they look at life insurance as a death benefit, right? To your point earlier about the GoFundMe, but they don't look at it as a living benefit. Like literally, taxes is one aspect to look at it in terms of living benefits. You get tax-free income. You can structure your insurance to where you can receive money at your retirement age. The annuities is a form of insurance. You can receive that like a pension plan, right, for the rest of your life in retirement. Most people don't understand that. You also can position your insurance. Most people go bankrupt, right, because of their medical challenges, unfortunately. No one knows that they're going to have a stroke, heart attack, dementia, whatever. But if you have an index universal life policy, now you have what? You secured your finances from having to pay a huge medical bill, which is one of the leading causes for bankruptcy, right? And so if you have the proper insurance, you have insurance on your car, your refrigerator, all these different things, but you don't have insurance on your life or on your body in terms of what medical challenges you could possibly have in the future. Those living benefits, the new type of insurance, is going to keep you from having to come out of your pocket, out of your retirement income, to have to pay for those expenses. So why not position yourself with an index universal life policy or some type of policy that's going to be able to secure your future with living benefits that you get to use while you're living. You can take a tax-free loan, if you need to, instead of having to, get a hit on your credit, as he mentioned earlier, or any other thing, right? In terms of having to go out and get a loan, you can take a loan out against your policy, because if you have term policy, what are you doing? You're giving a donation. There's no return on investment on a term policy. And so the rich and wealthy understand that. And so they use insurance as a way and a means to build wealth through, mitigating that medical challenge, or those medical bills, as well as in their retirement. Now they have a nice nest at the age of 65 that they can begin to dig into if they want to. And oh, by the way, you don't have to pay that back. That's just a subtraction off of your actual face amount that your beneficiary is going to get. So it's so much, we can go on, but insurance is the way to go. If you want to have warranty or insurance on anything, have it on your life, have it on you, and definitely your children.
Excellent points. Excellent points. Now, again, according to a recent study, there are 18.6 million millionaires in the United States of America. And so being a millionaire is, let's say, more accessible than at any point in time in history. Within our community, one of the biggest challenges may be the mindset aspect of transitioning from doing well, or let's say it may be a middle class or overcoming some challenges to ascending to the millionaire status and or being able to generate generational wealth. And within our communities, one of the unique challenges that we face is no matter how successful we may be, there may be relatives, there may be communities that we're attached to that it may be hard to break away from. So for those who are watching this, they may be an entrepreneur and they're on their way up in terms of creating that wealth. What is one mindset tip that you can share that will help them with coping and dealing with wealth and the adjustments that need to be made in order to handle that? We'll go in the same order, starting with Edwin.
Let's see, restate that a little bit for me, just
Yes, what I'm looking to give to the audience is one mindset tip that is necessary to adjust to newfound wealth, let's say new success as it relates to our community.
Sure. You know, I think that we probably, those of us who grew up in sensible households, like my mom was a school teacher, you know, so she was a hardworking person. We grew up in Philadelphia in a row house, right? And so I had, you grew up in humble beginnings, right? So you start off there, grew up in the church, humble beginnings, have, you know, uncles and aunts and cousins and everybody. We're pretty much the same, working class type people. Some of them had their college educations, but we all got a sense of humility as we were growing up. We aspired to move out of that row house in the inner city and get that bigger place out in the suburbs with grass all around it and all of that. But I think that a lot of us come, you know, who came from a background like that were positioned to stay humble, right? And so I always believed in living below your means, like, so accumulate stuff and invest stuff, but live within your means. If you're going to if you're going to spend things, don't spend money on things, you know, like things that have depreciation, cars, things like that, that will depreciate as soon as you drive them off the lot. It's, we should be investing in real estate. And we should make sure that we're putting money aside for our future. And so that first money we get, as opposed to spending it and trying to show it to everybody, we should be investing it and setting it up so that it can grow over the course of time and stay humble. So I just like, you know, it's not that we don't like really nice things, because I really do like luxury. I love, you know, beautiful cars. I love nice trips. I love all those things, but not at the expense of what's coming down the pipe, which means, you know, education is important for me. So I'm buying a home in a district where it's really great schools so that my sons can grow up in really great schools. And I know if they do that, then I'm going to have to be paying for college. So I got to be sensible. I got to be putting money in for 529, not buying a 529. You know what I'm saying? Putting that money and setting it aside for the future and staying humble until you hit a certain point. Set goals. I always said, like, you know, oh yeah, I'd love to have a Range Rover, but not until our net worth is 1.5 million, you know? And so we have to always stay humble, set goals, set money aside, and be ready for the future, and never get too big for our britches. And I think, you know, I grew up in that kind of family that helped me, you know, stay humble. And that's the thing that I would always try to encourage others, is stay humble and build and protect your future.
So you said a mindset. So poverty is a mindset. The way that this country was structured was to create the rich to be rich and the poor to be poor. So I would even say that we're on this, you know, this platform speaking about this, and this is very powerful. But one of the major things about this is understanding the shift in the mindset to help us understand how do we get there in the first place? Because African Americans were not always in a poverty mindset. We owned houses, we owned land. The problem is that the transference of that wealth was not documented. So right now it's very key to get knowledge and be able to understand how do we keep it in our community, because the statistics shows that money circulates in our community 6 hours. Other communities, it circulates 20, 30 days. Why is that? We have small business owners that are suffering through COVID-19, but we have our counterparts. I look in other counties, other states, and they're supporting their small business owners. They're rallying around. So for us, we got to figure out how to rally around each other and support each other in our business endeavors. Because even though I may not be that real estate person, I can be able to say, oh, go to Shakeima for that. Or you want to talk about credit, go to Edwin for that. And, and someone said, well, Donald, how do I trust the Black business owner? Listen, we're changing the dynamic. I'm sure that we can say on this platform that we all broke some generational curses or the statistics that they said we wouldn't make it. Because I'll tell you, I was in a room with people that didn't look like me, over 30, 40 people on the floor. I'm looking around like, wow, how did I get here? I'm a professor for University of Maryland Global Campus, teaching accounting. Most of my students do not look like me. Out of 25 students, there's maybe one or two out of that 25 that look like me.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm proud to teach accounting. So I sit there and I look at the ones that look like me and I'm saying, you can do this.
Yes.
And so I'm seeing this as more so a mindset that we have to help our young people, help our generations understand, listen, you can do this. Let's celebrate each other. Let's push each other to go further. Who defined poverty in the first place? When you look at IRS laws, it says, oh, you're in poverty, in a poverty status if you don't make more than like $14,000. Oh, so now I'm in poverty? Are we going to be defined by that? Or are we going to say, you know what? No, I'm a millionaire. I may not see it in my bank account right now, but I have to see it before it gets there. So it's about the mindset. And that's what I teach about, because I can teach you money all day. But until this is right, until you understand entrepreneurship, to understand it's not about working Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and getting off at 5 p.m. Because entrepreneurs, we work almost tirelessly throughout the weekend. The weekend is planning for Monday. It's different. So it's like breaking the mindset. Oh, I'm gonna wait for that good government job. Let me tell you something. The government there's no security in the government either, like it used to be many years ago. Oh, I'm gonna wait till I get that Social Security check. Social Security is gonna be out the door because we've been sold on a system that does not work on our behalf. So we gotta break the poverty mindset. So that's my spiel. I could go on about it, but I'll stop there.
So Donald kind of has me on fire because he kind of hit on so many things. But what I will add to going back to the points you brought out in your question was accepting the fact. You talk about breaking away from certain people. That's going to happen, unfortunately, because you have to find your tribe. Because and I always feel like entrepreneurs, we definitely have a different way of thinking. And I found myself in the position, and the best way I described it was, I looked up one day and realized I was a unicorn amongst a room full of horses. And they were having horse conversations that I no longer wanted to participate in because I was a unicorn. And so I had to find my tribe. I had to find other people who were having the same kind of conversations. And most importantly, you also have to be comfortable being in the room with people who know way more than you. I found myself oftentimes, I was the smartest person in my circle. That's the most dangerous place to be because you're going to be confined to that area. So definitely start seeking out like-minded people who are going to help you build, grow, and collaborate. The other thing I'm going to say is that fear has to become an accessory. I do step out and do things all the time that I'm afraid of, and I'm a tiny bit of control freak. So I always kind of want to know the end, but that does not happen in the world of entrepreneurship. And so I tell myself daily, okay, fear, you're just going to have to take the ride along with me, because you have to make those moves. Fear can literally paralyze you and keep you bound and, from going forward. So those are the two most important tips I would give any entrepreneur. And then just to tag on to what Donald said, continue to support one another. Show your business owners a little grace. McDonald's messes up your fries every week, but you're back in the drive-thru. Let a Black business owner mess up and you're blasting them out into the entire world. And we have to do better in supporting one another.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I would certainly just add to what they've said, and it's really around having the abundance mindset, like we've been talking about. So you have to become a CEO of your money. In other words, you're going to create employment opportunities for your money, and not like yourself. Like we can find ways to make money on ourselves. How are you going to employ your money? You are a steward of that money. So if you're making all this money, you didn't know what to do with it before. You have to educate yourself, right? And get the knowledge on how to properly invest, how to the financial literacy. So your mindset can't be to what they mentioned earlier, that I'm just going to be flashy with it, but how am I going to give to a cause? Or maybe, start my own business. That money has to have some type of a purpose. So give your money purpose in order for your money to multiply, because you are just a steward. We know that there's a wise proverb that says a fool and money will soon part. And so unless you have some type of employment opportunity for your money, you're not going to have it very long. And that's the unfortunate part about people that, win the lottery or whatever. They never keep it because they don't know how to properly invest that money. So the mindset have to shift in order to keep it. So how are you employed? That's the first question I would ask you. How are you going to be a good steward over the money that you already have? So now you can be able to multiply that money and employ that money in areas of great causes, because there's other people that need it. And yes, you cannot have such a scarcity mentality that your business is the only business that people need to come to. There's others that you need to collaborate with so that they too can make money. Together you can make money, right? Why try to get it all for yourself and you can't even handle it, right? Maybe there's somebody in your group that you can partner with. There's a lot of strategic partnerships that should be going on that's not. Everybody's in their own little bucket, and being selfish. But how can we come together in a circle and collaborate and now be able to build a stronger community, because now we've joined forces. And now our businesses are so much better because we all have great minds. We collaborated to such an extent that now our business is better because we've not only collaborated. I mean, a money mindset is an abundance mindset. It has nothing to do with scarcity that says that I don't need anybody else and I'm going to do it by myself and I'm not going to send anybody to your business. They need to come to my business. We all can eat. There's 7 billion people in the world. So why don't you go after your billion and let them go after their billion? And all of us can eat and all of us can be rich. But that poverty, scarcity, crab in a barrel mindset that I've been in 2 territories in that I have to work through that in, because that mindset has to go. It's a crab in a barrel mentality that says, I'm not going to let you get up too far because I'm scared I might not get up, or you're going to look too good. No, we all need to do this together, but a lot of, us in the communities are really just competing, or we don't have to. We can collaborate. And that's where the abundance mindset comes in terms of being an entrepreneur, having money, all of the above. And people that know how to do that well, politics, however you want to call it, they get a lot more done and they get a lot more business and they got a lot more money, and their money grows better and greater, and they get more referrals because people know them, like them, and trust them. People don't trust people that have a scarcity mindset because they can see the knife in their back like they did it in corporate. You don't have to bring that corporate mentality over into the entrepreneur world. You can leave that in corporate. And now that you're an entrepreneur making money on your own, now you can really begin to allow, the good side of you to come out and be who you were created to be. Authentic, genuine, and with love. I believe that an abundance mindset is a mindset that has a lot of love and not a whole lot of competition.
Amen.
Well said.
She preached.
Excellent perspectives, and just a multifaceted approach from each of you, and a lot of info to unpack with that. Now, this question is for Shakeima. Now, real estate has been proven to be one of the most predictable paths to wealth in the United States. Now, there are people who are watching this broadcast right now who have watched, let's say, infomercials, depending on how old they may be, to YouTube celebrities, all talk about the glitz and glamour of real estate. What I would like for you to share with our audience is the practical way to get started with real estate, what they should look out for as they get started with this journey.
Great question. Real estate should be a financial decision and not an emotional one. And I often find myself having that conversation, especially with first-time home buyers who assume that coming into their first home, they are going to have this mansion. What I talk to them about is, what are your needs versus your wants, and understanding how to invest wisely in a property in the right neighborhoods. What are the needs for educational needs for your children? That should overcome granite countertops and hardwood floors, and massive homes for your, single women want 4-bedroom homes because they need a room for their shoes. Those types of things, making sure that you really evaluate this investment, because if not, that investment can become a curse. If you invest in the wrong ways, and I know Edwin is going to amen into this, there are a lot of people who prey on first-time home buyers as far as getting them in predatory lending practices. So definitely making sure you understand, take the emotions out of this purchase and make sure that it is a wise investment. And then I will say, start as early as you can. I wish I had. You see it all the time. My goal for my daughter is, straight out of college, she will purchase a dwelling and a multi-level, a multi-family dwelling. Have your college friends and your roommates pay for your mortgage and then create equity for you. You can continue to hold on to that property, or you can invest in another property when you're ready. So I would also say, talking to our children about starting as early as possible. Don't be the borrower all your life. You can then flip that and become the landlord, and that should also be a part of your wealth portfolio as well. As you mentioned, every rich person that you can think of, every wealthy person you can think of, there is real estate in their portfolio. So going back to the original question, I would definitely say, make it a financial decision. And in making it a financial decision, all the checks and balances have to check off. And then monitor and maintain your investment. Just like you watch the stock market, you should be watching the housing market, because real estate is just like stock. There are ebbs and flows, and understanding when to hold, when to sell, when it's a good time to rent out a property versus flipping a property. So it has to become a continual thing that you maintain.
If I could add on to some of her points about real estate, just like you compared real estate to the stock market, you have blue chip stocks, right? And you typically can count on those stocks. They're going to keep giving you a return year after year. They're going to grow. They're going to kick out dividends, because those are really rock solid companies, right? Same thing with real estate. And what a lot of people don't realize is that old term, real estate is about location, location, location. I think once you really get into real estate and you're helping people buy homes, and you really see the difference in prices, you realize that location, location, location actually means schools, schools, schools. When you buy a house in a really good school district, it's going to cost more than in neighborhoods that don't have really good schools. And why is that? If I can get my kid into a 10-rated, 9 or 10-rated public school, I'm getting a quality education that might be equivalent to a private school, right? So now I don't have to spend $20,000, $30,000 a year to send my child from kindergarten to 12th grade to private school. In fact, I'm paying far less if I have 2 children that I would have paid, $6,000, a month for to go to some private school. If I put $2,500 or $3,000 into a mortgage in a really great school district, the house is going to hold its value. It's probably going to increase in value while you live in that house. Your children are going to get a quality education, which puts them in a better position to get into a good school and probably get a scholarship to go to that school. So now you could be saving on the money that you spent on private schools. And if you do it right, you might not even be spending a lot of money on college. And then when the kids move out and you're ready to downsize, the house held its value and actually probably increased. So those houses you actually make a profit on. You pay down some on it, you can sell it. A good example is Howard County, where here in Maryland, where it has really great schools, houses typically won't stay on the market for more than 2 weeks if it's near one of the best schools in the county, and got plenty of 10-rated schools. So if you put that house on the market, you got 5, 6, 7 families waiting for that house to come off the market. So that's one of the things that people need to keep in mind when they're buying. Even when they're young, I always say buy the most house you can afford in the best school district, right? So it might not be a mansion. Like you said, it might not be a mansion. It may be a rancher, right? But that house is going to hold its value, and your kids are going to get a great education. And the money that you would have been spending on private school, you can be putting in a 529 to save for their college or invest.
And one other point about location, and just also remembering just maintaining modesty. And I'm not sure, of course, I'm speaking from the aspects of where I am, Charleston, South Carolina, which is the #1 gentrified city in the nation, is also paying attention to economics and what's happening around. There are communities that 5 years ago, I was telling people, you need to consider this opportunity. 5 years later, now they cannot afford it, right, because they refused to invest in it when it didn't look like what they wanted to present in the world and out to the world. And now those communities have grown by leaps and bounds, and families that owned those homes years ago cannot even afford to live in those homes. So also just being very strategic about where you invest. Location is definitely important, but making sure you're following the trends of those neighborhoods.
Yeah. So Edwin actually touched on it, and you as well just now. As someone that's a first-time home buyer, understanding some of those numbers from an investment perspective needs to be important as well. I know we want our house, we want as a first-time homeowner. Well, I'm just excited. This is my big new house. But what is that going to look like in the future? I think is one of the things that we have to understand. And as an investor, you want the ugliest or smallest home in a community to purchase. It may not be all lavish when you have your parties or whatever. You can fix it up for a temporary season. If you have the mindset or the abundance mindset to say, I'm not going to be here all my life, but I want the ugliest, smallest house on the block. Why? Because that's going to be the one that I'm going to be able to turn the biggest profit on. Most people don't think like that. They just want a big flashy house for cookouts, and things like that, or house parties. But making sure that you understand the long-term effect of that major investment that you're going to make in that first time home. And so I appreciate Shakeima. I know she's going to get people in the right home, but you might, if you're not in her market, you want to make sure that you partner with someone that understands the investing side of that community so that you can purchase your first home in an area where you can understand the exit strategy that you want to have, rather turn that into a rental property or an Airbnb property. Understand what the economics is around that property before you buy it, even as a first-time home buyer.
And don't be afraid to invest sweat equity. I love, when I can encounter a home buyer who's okay to paint a couple walls or pull up some carpet if they can invest wise. I think I have a buyer now, bought her home last year, probably $50,000 under market value. Took her less than $10,000 to bring that property up to market value. So huge investment there, and now she's continuing to see the equity grow in her property, but she was not afraid to put in a little sweat equity to do that. And so a couple things I'll be talking to about in my session as well. How do you know how to make those investments and when? And talking about the team that you need to have put together to help you make those wise investments.
Excellent. Now, we are going to bring this airplane to a landing, but we have a virtual summit that is on the way. Now, I'm going to start with Donald, go to Shakeima, and end with Edwin. I have a question for you to wrap this up, Shateka. So what I would like for you to do is give us the 30-second commercial of why the attendees on this broadcast, and I've gone to look at the comments, and the comments are nice. The comments are exciting. And why should they come and see your session, your virtual session, coming up at the Generational Wealth Summit? Starting with Donald.
Well, I would say the main reason why you want to come to my session is because you need to be educated on what your options are during this pandemic. Taxes are changing, and so you need to know what your options are as far as the stimulus package and what you need to be thinking of as a business owner pertaining to this PPP program. So there's a lot of things that's been happening, a lot of questions, a lot of my clients ask, and they say, well, my friends told me this, my friends told me that. Listen, I'm going to give you the real deal. I'm going to point you to what the IRS says, and that way you'll have straight knowledge what you need to take with you to be able to manage your finances better and create wealth this year.
And I would say come to my session to learn how to wisely invest in real estate. Sadly, I will have to admit there are a lot of people who are in our industry that are more concerned about their personal gain. I can honestly say that I am more passionate about creating more homeowners and helping them understand the ability and the tools that come with wisely investing in real estate. And so we'll talk about, you know, the proper conditions to invest in real estate and help you pretty much do a checklist of making wise decisions about choosing properties, how, when to hold, when it's a proper time to venture into investing, flipping versus renting. Those are some of the topics that we will cover.
Fantastic. And, you know, when you think about, you know, investing in real estate and making investments, you want to get more cash in your hands. I think right now, during this whole COVID catastrophe, it actually has created opportunity for people who are for a long time have been looking for a way to bring down their debt and increase their credit score. And I'm going to talk about the different ways people could be taking advantage of the relief that's been given by mortgage companies, by renters, by car finance companies, by credit card companies, how people can take advantage of the relief that they're getting and use the money they normally would be paying those bills down and use it to direct bringing down their debt and getting them in position that when this thing is all over, they can begin to shoot that score up and be in position maybe by, you know, the winter or next spring to buy their first home. So I think we're going to be able to talk about how do we take advantage of what's happened during this catastrophe to increase our credit and get ourselves ready for the next step to build wealth.
Now,
certainly, I would love to make sure that everybody understands that insurance, annuities, how you can retire yourself, how you can do a catch-up plan. Okay, most people don't understand there's a catch-up plan available to you if you're behind on your retirement investing, right? Portfolio, and how you can build that and how you can do that very, very, very smartly, right? So you don't have to, you know, be out here by yourself trying to figure it all out. I'm going to help you with lifetime life insurance, annuities, and how to properly invest and how to build wealth through that, as well as retire yourself, because 97% of people are not going to retire. But there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And I want to be able to show you, and I want to teach you like the 4 financial cornerstones in my particular segment. And so once you understand these 4 financial cornerstones, you're definitely going to want to know, you know, have a much better understanding on how you're going to retire. Most people think, oh, retirement is years are well ahead. No, retirement is not an age. Retirement is an income. And my goal is to get you to understand how you can build wealth now so that you can be positioned not only for retirement, but for right now and, you know, and for the rest of your life, because you can get a pension plan type retirement fund that's going to pay you for the rest of your life. Okay. And most people don't even know that that's available. And so that's what I'll be talking about in my segment.
Now, Shateka, it is said that, you know, greatness starts with a vision. And the reason why we are all here today is because you had a vision to create an event, a gathering, to strengthen the understanding of generational wealth. Can you please take us into that vision and what the viewers, the attendees can expect at the Generational Wealth Virtual Summit?
But honestly, I think you only have a portion of the panelists here today. So, we actually have about 5 more. They can actually expect that we're going to kick it off with some mindset. We're going to have at T. Smith Speaks, and he's going to be talking about mindset. So we touched on it today. But this young man, he's a millennial, and he's amazing. He's going to be able to tell you how you need to shift your mindset so you can shift your paradigm and your financial future. And then we're going to, be followed by, of course, one breakout room, which would be myself. I know Shakeima and another young lady who's going to be talking about network marketing, which is one of the leading ways that you can make money right now with everything that's going on with artificial intelligence and, the 5G. So a lot of jobs are going to go away, but network marketing is the future. She'll be talking about that in that 11 o'clock segment. And then we're going to have a breakout session at noon. We're going to have a nice chef. He's going to be talking about different ways to do a healthy meal for the hour. And so I'm actually going to be sending that email out along with the Black Professional Men so you can get your ingredients together, today and tomorrow, so that you can cook along. It's like a cook along with Chef Vaughn. And so he's an amazing chef. He'll be doing that for the hour. If you don't want to participate, that's fine. You can come back. And then we'll have our 1 o'clock and our 2 o'clock sessions. And so we'll have someone who will be speaking about digital marketing along with the rest of the panelists that you've heard today. And then there's another young lady who's going to be telling you how to build wealth through, solar energy. So people don't even understand that. And she has her own business. And so we have quite a few people that's going to teach you different ways to build wealth in their segments. We'll have 3 virtual breakout rooms, all right, for those 3 hours with 3 different speakers in there. Also, Miss Janet Tonkin, she is a real estate mogul, okay, here in the Baltimore community. Works with the Baltimore Real Estate Investor Association. She'll be talking about how to build wealth through real estate investing, how to become multiple. She's not a real estate agent. She's a real estate investor. And so she'll be teaching you how to purchase a lot of different properties at once, or however you want to do that. She does commercial properties. She has over 100 properties. And she has it in 3 different states, and she'll be talking about that. I mean, she's definitely a woman to hear from as well. And so all of those segments are going to be going on throughout the day. Unfortunately, her session is the only session that's going to go over time if you decide to try to get back in her session. But we need everybody to register. But the name that you register under, make sure that your Zoom name is the same, because the way this is going to work, we're going to see your name on the outside of the Zoom. And so if your name is different from the name that you registered with, you're going to have some challenges moving from room to room per your desire. So make sure that your name that you register with is the exact same name that you have in Zoom. So we just figured that out. So we want to make sure that's super, super clear. We also want you to make sure that you're in the room early. So it's going to kick off at 10 o'clock. So we need you there, from 9 to 10 o'clock. You have that amount of time to get into the right room. You just kind of hanging out anyway at home. Just try to go ahead and log in and make sure you're in the general session and that everything's working for you. All of your tech is there, because we're going to kick right off at 10 o'clock. And because you registered properly with the proper name and the proper Zoom information, we'll be able to know whenever you ask a question and you say, I want to be moved to this room or that room. We'll know who you are, and we'll be able to move you the proper way. And so hopefully that answers all your questions about, but I'm taking questions. Any questions that you see out there, I definitely want to answer their questions. We want you to be here. Another reason why you need to be here is because these are all business professionals that are thriving, not surviving, but thriving in their industries, okay? And you don't have to pay 1 brown penny. This is a pandemic quarantine gift, if you will, because normally something like this would cost, right, for people's time. So show up, ask questions, bring your notepad, and be ready to learn. I mean, the more you learn, the more you earn. And so we're here to do just that. But any questions at this time? Any questions? I want to make sure I answer. I know you probably got to go, but I just wanted to see if we have any pressing questions out there.
Well, there are, let's see. One question that we have is, how, this is for Edwin, how can homeowners identify the good 9 schools?
Well, one of the ways they can do that is there's a couple of different websites. One is called greatschools.org, greatschools.org. So they can go on there and they can put in the different counties that they're thinking about, and they'll see the rankings, 1 being the poorest ranked school, 10 being the highest ranked schools. And so once you find that 10 ranked school, 9 ranked school, then they have a link that shows you the homes for sale in that zip code or the homes that would feed into that school. So that's one way. Another site is called niche.com, NICHE.com, and you could go on there and look for the highest rated schools in the state or in your district. And once you find that, then you look for homes that surround those. So those are just a couple of places. High school wise, U.S. News and World Report, they do a national ranking and a local and state ranking of high schools. Just like they do with colleges, they do it with high schools. And you can see, I use Howard County all the time as an example. Of the top 10 high schools in the state of Maryland, 4 of them are in Howard County. So, or three in Howard County, 4 in Montgomery County. So those are good resources. You could go find those schools and then look for homes around those schools.
Absolutely. So in closing, I'd like to thank the various online communities from Baltimore-based jobs, Black professional men, the Winner Circle, where we scale our brands to 6 figures, Periscope community, Twitter community, all of which are viewing this virtual panel live. And your next step is to register for the Generational Wealth Virtual Summit. It is a complimentary fee, so all you need to do is show up and show up on time, ready to learn from the various experts and specialists in the areas of entrepreneurship, real estate, credit building, wealth, so on and so forth. On behalf of Shateka Husser and our esteemed panelists, I am Eleazer, and you have tuned into Conversational Currency Live, where we are the fastest growing platform which focuses on the value and importance of social skills for business in a digital era, told through the lens of today's business and thought leaders. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us. And for that, we appreciate you. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on Saturday. Yes.
How do we register for this amazing event?
It's true.
Please share the URL. It will be in the description on all social media platforms. So please share the URL before we wrap things up.
The quickest URL will be www.L as in Lima, N as in November, K as in Kilo, .bio/Shateka, SHATEKA. That's the quickest URL. However, if you are already a part of the Black Professional Men's community, if rather be Meetup or Eventbrite, you can go ahead and schedule, register there. If you are part of the She Inspires Life, community on Facebook, you can register there. If you are a part of the She Inspires Eventbrite, which is my Eventbrite, She Inspires, you can register there. So there's a lot of different ways that you can register, but that is the quickest link.
So make sure that you view the links in the description and register for the event on Saturday. Be there, learn, and increase your generational wealth. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Shadid.
Thank you.